For this lesson, I thought we would do a Scarlet Macaw, and the reason why I'm choosing this is because it's my granddaughter's favorite bird, and I wanted to give some new watercolors a try. So I went down to my local craft store and decided to get some affordable watercolors that I thought would be really bright. The brand name is Reeves, and I got them at Michael's. Now you probably have one of these stores close to you too. And if you don't, it could be a Hobby Lobby or any other kind of art and craft store. Now if you don't have these, don't worry about it. Just use the watercolor set that you have. The reason why I wanted to give it a try was to see if this was a good affordable set that I could recommend. Now what I like about it is that the colors are bright. So I think this would be a good set for kids. Now we're really just going to be working with 3 different colors, a red, yellow, and blue. But in this set, there's 2 reds, 2 yellows, and 1 blue. As you can see, I've already got my macaw drawn out on my watercolor paper, my rinse bucket, and a white plate with partitions where I'm putting my color. But you can use whatever watercolor set you have, or if you're using tube colors, you can just use a plain white plate. Now this set doesn't come with any brushes, so you'll have to purchase those separately. And perhaps you already have some on hand. Now what I'm looking for is a brush that's a little larger, it has a nice fluffy tip to it, and it can be something similar to this. Now if you don't have one that looks like this, don't worry about it, just use what you have. All I'm looking for is a brush that's big enough, that's going to hold some water so I can wet the inside of my macaw. Now it doesn't have to be perfect, just get some water in there and then we're going to apply some color. Basically, just right around the head. And if you want, you can bring it down a little bit further into the body. Then let's take a smaller brush, get it wet, put some water in the palette, take your red color, blend it into the clean water, and then apply it into the bird. Now what's going to make this really fun is once you start applying your color and then you touch that clean water, it starts to move all on its own. So what I'm looking for is a little puddle on the surface, otherwise the color is not going to move. Now if it's not bright enough, go ahead and add more color. And if you want a bigger feather, press a little harder on the brush. Not too much, just a little. Now I'm thinking about starting those yellow feathers on the back, but I don't really want it to touch the red, otherwise the yellow's going to turn orange. But if that's something you like, that's okay. Now as you can see, I'm leaving a small white dry space between the yellow and the red. And in some places, I might let that yellow color touch the red and allow that color to mingle. Now as it dries, it can look a little lighter, so you may want to come back in and reapply more color. Just have fun with it. Now moving on to those dark blue feathers on the back, just like we did for the head, let's apply a little bit of water and then our blue color. Let it run and mingle into the clean water. And if it touches a little bit of that yellow, that's okay. Now if you notice, I'm holding the brush a little higher up the handle. And by doing this, I'm getting more of a painterly look. But if I wanted more detail, I'd hold my brush a little closer to the tip. Now what I really like about this is that I just like to see the color move in the water, because it seems to have a life of its own and it's almost like magic. Now if I painted the whole bird, I would have to use a huge piece of paper. Or if I wanted to fit it all into this painting right here, it would be really tiny. And that wouldn't necessarily be as much fun as playing with all this color. Now it's time to start thinking about the face. And if you know macaws, they don't have that red color there. It's pretty light. The face looks almost white, and the beak has just a slight yellow cast to it. So all that means is that we're going to have more water in our color blend. So go ahead, fill in the beak, face, and paint around the eye. Then we'll let this dry just a little, and in the meantime we can add more color to the blue feathers or separate some of those yellow ones by just adding a little blue on the edge or in between. And if you want, you can leave it this way, or what I sometimes like to do is to take clean water or semi-clean water and take my brush and go along the outside edge of my painting and touch some areas to allow some of that color that's inside of my drawing to spill out into that clean water. Now this is just something that's kind of fun to do, but you don't have to do it. But if you do, make sure to draw the brush stroke of clean water out far enough so once it dries, it looks invisible. And now it's time for some of those final details. We'll want to make sure that everything's completely dry, and we need more of a blackish color. Now, since we're only working with red, yellow, and blue, to get the color we need, we'll just mix them all together. And if it seems too blue, add more yellow or red, or if it seems too much of one color, add more of the other. Now, as we do this, we don't want to add too much color. We're just basically trying to separate the beak from the face and add that dark chin that they have. Now, since I'm using a brush that has a bigger, fluffier tip, what I need is something that gives me more control. So I'm looking for one that's a little more narrow and holds less water. Now I get much more specific on the types of brushes, paper, and colors that I use in my adult courses. Now, as you know, we're mixing our really dark color that's going to be our replacement for black. So what I'd like you to notice is how I'm balancing the color. Then I'll take that blend and bring it right along the bottom side of that beak. Now I'm finding that this brush is still just a little too big, so I'm going to go to a smaller one. I'll add some color right to the very tip, and then along the top side, I'm going to use that lighter value that we spoke about earlier and just basically outline it and enhance that beak. Then add a few tiny feathers, and inside the face, some lines of some dots. I want to keep them small so they don't distract. And if needed, I'll take a damp brush and just soften a few of them, or you can lift them out with a paper towel. We just want to suggest that they're there. Then using that same color combination with that small brush, start to fill in the area of the eye while leaving a very small white space to give it a shine. Then using a lighter value, meaning more water in that color blend, make a little outline around the eye so it really stands out. Now to finish it off, you can always do a little more painting, and if that white space seems just too big, take a small brush and spatter some color. But before you do too much, put it up, stand back, and take a look at it. Now if you'd like to see more of these tutorials, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the like button. Or you can join me in my online school at birgitoconnor.com. So until next time, have fun and happy painting!